I make it go.
What is going on, Phantom Army? It's your boy Phantom Stilts, and welcome back once again to a brand new video on the channel. Today we're talking about a game that I recently played the demo of on my channel. If you guys have not checked it out, the game is called Anthem. It's made by BioWare. The BioWare is the same people that actually made the Dragon Age series, along with Mass Effect, the entire Mass Effect series, and Knights of the Old Republic. So today, in order to give you guys sort of a synopsis of what the game's about, imagine this is the best thing I can sort of tailor it to and give you a general feel of what the game is like. So what you do in the game of Anthem, to give you guys a general synopsis of what the game is about, you take control of a pilot and you are able to jump into a javelin or a mechanized suit a la Iron Man. It's basically your Iron Man with a gun. And you take control of this javelin, and it's got all of these different powers and thrusters and boosters and different things that you can use to your advantage when you're inside the javelin that you couldn't do as a regular human being in the game. So when looking at Anthem, there's a lot of good things about this demo, and there's a lot of bad things that I actually wanted to touch on that I didn't touch on in the stream. So I'm making this review in order to give you guys sort of like a good, the bad, and not necessarily the ugly, but sort of the lesser points of the demo and some things that they sort of need to fix before the game actually comes out in its entirety. So as of right now, Anthem is slated to come out in February 22nd of this year. In exactly 3 weeks from today, the game will be out and ready for purchase. So if you guys have never played Mass Effect, that's developed by BioWare as well, the game actually takes on that exact same camera view, that third-person over-the-shoulder sort of Gears of War and Mass Effect feel is the same type of view that you get in Anthem from the camera angle. The first point I want to touch on about the game is the fact that the Javelin is not OP, it's not overpowered or anything like that. So the Javelin that you start out in Anthem in the demo and that you play through in the demo is actually called the Ranger. Now, the Ranger is sort of your midpoint as far as the Javelin is concerned. It's not a tank, it's not a lightweight Javelin, it's right in the middle. So you get the best of both worlds from a defense and an offensive standpoint. Now, if you're looking for a balanced experience with a Javelin and you don't want sort of the hard, heavy hitting tank buster of a Javelin, and you don't want the lightweight mobility of a lightweight Javelin, the Ranger is actually right up your alley, and it's the Javelin that you play with for the entirety of the demo. You're not able to actually switch Javelins unless you're able to rank up and go further in the free play. But as far as the Javelin is concerned from the combat standpoint of the game, the Javelin is very well balanced, even though it's the most balanced Javelin that you're able to play as for the entirety of the demo. I can see them using a tank-busting Javelin, a midpoint Javelin, and a lightweight Javelin that would really appeal to the audience that they're trying to reach. The second point I want to get to involving Anthem is the fact that the combat system itself, not necessarily the Javelin, but the actual running combat system, how you're able to move, is very, very fluid. I was really surprised. In the Mass Effect games, especially the earlier ones, it felt really clunky, and that could be just a testament to when the games were made, that they didn't really have the technology that they do have now to make the movement a lot more fluid and a lot more realistic, I guess. So the combat system, you're actually given 3 different options when you're involved with the Javelin. So you're able to use some sort of weapon, whether it be a rifle, a handgun, something that is not actually attached to your Javelin. It's actually like a secondary thing that's not attached to the Javelin, that's not integrated into the actual suit. Then you're able to use some kind of rocket booster or something that shoots off your actual arm on the right side, and then you're able to fling a grenade. And there's actually a 4th option that I forgot to tell you guys about. There's also a melee option where you're able to hit the Y button or the triangle button on your PS4, depending on what system you're playing on, in order to actually go up in close combat and actually smack somebody. The third point I want to talk about is actually the fact that it's an online-only game. I think this is a big plus for Anthem because they're sort of riding the trend of online games like Fortnite and PUBG, whereas this game is not like that. It's not a battle royale. It's not an open-world game per se, where you're able to do basically whatever you want. There is a set storyline, there is set missions, but it's based in an open world. In a multiplayer game like this, the game actually focuses on teamwork and building squads. So they actually recommend to you in the demo that you use squad-based gameplay versus trying to do a private match or a private mission, something on your own. They actually recommend that you do it with a group and with a squad of about 4 people. You can actually do less than that, but they do recommend that you have a full squad when you go to take on a mission in Anthem. So the 4th and final point that I want to make to you guys and talk about is the fact of the graphical nature of the game, how the game looks. So when I played the demo, I played it on Xbox, I actually played it on my Xbox One S. I can see how being Xbox One X enhanced, the game could look absolutely gorgeous. And level design of like a Mass Effect game where it's not necessarily in space, it's more of like a grounded Earth Dweller type game where Mass Effect was set sort of in space and in the ether of outer space. Granted, the game probably takes place in the near future, or maybe even in the little farther future than we'd like to admit. It feels somewhat set in reality where maybe down the road we'll have these mechanized suits and these javelins that are able to do all this cool stuff. There's always good things and bad things when it comes to demos. That's sort of why games come out with demos, and that's why the developers decide to put out demos so they can sort of try and see what the audience likes and doesn't like. So we're going to talk about the cons. So the first point I want to talk about involving the cons and sort of not the bad part of the game, but sort of the negative things that I took away from the game was the fact that the game is very, very chaotic. Now, chaotic is a very strong and broad term, and I want to sort of pinpoint what I mean about the game being chaotic. So when I say chaotic, I'm talking about the fact that when you're in a battle or when you're in some sort of fight sequence, the amount of enemies that are surrounding you are a little bit more than I'd like them to be. Now, granted, the Javelin is a super suit, so you're equipped to take on these enemies, but the fact that there are so many enemies, I think the combat system and the overall battle system of the game is lacking a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, the fluidity and the realistic nature of the combat system and the actual fighting system of the game is really well done. It just seems like there's too many enemies sometimes. The game can seem very overwhelming at times, the amount of enemies that you're forced to face. Like there's an instance that you guys will see in the live stream. So there's an instance in the live stream where I'm taking on sort of this mechanized turret, and there's somebody obviously in the turret controlling it. The sequence actually took me about an hour to beat, so that's why the stream is 2 hours. Some people have finished it in about an hour. It actually took me double the time because I couldn't necessarily figure out how to get rid of this OP turret that was just laying waste to absolutely everybody in my party, including myself. Now, I won't give away the way to beat it because I want you guys to beat it yourselves. It took me a while to figure it out, but the vastness of enemies is really well done. The fact that it's overwhelming, I think, is a big con that the game needs to address. It's not necessarily a huge problem. It's not something you notice like 100%. It's more of like a minute difference where I think that they change a little thing. They tweak a little bit of like the number or sort of the type of enemies that spawn towards you in those battle sequences that could make a really, really compelling change, and they could really fix not necessarily a huge problem, but sort of a minute problem that somebody like myself just happened to notice during the gameplay. Something else I noticed, especially reading reviews of the demo, is the fact that, okay, Anthem is an online game. It's an online-only game, so that should put precedent on trying to have your servers and your network up to date as possible so they don't crash. Now, in reading some news about playing the Anthem demo and people that have played it, apparently EA servers, not just the Anthem servers, but the entirety of EA servers went down while the demo was live this past week. I have to believe with an online-only game and the amount of traffic that they probably predicted, that this is an issue that needs to be addressed first and foremost, maybe even over the OP system of the combat system. If you're having an online-only game, the game needs to be on dedicated servers and a dedicated network, which it is. The fact that it crashed the entirety of EA servers is a huge problem, and that needs to be addressed at the forefront of anything they're going to fix. If you don't have dedicated servers, if you're always sort of having servers shut down and go black, and servers that don't work on a regular basis, you're going to have a serious problem with your fans and the people that are playing your game, your audience. So after all is said and done, after the pros and cons I just gave you guys, I want to reiterate that Anthem looks like a fantastic game. I think BioWare is doing something revolutionary here. So they had success with Mass Effect, they had success with Dragon Age, and they've had success with Knights of the Old Republic. These are the 3 games that BioWare is mainly known for, and 2 of them are game series, so more than one game, obviously. I think if they can build on what they did well as far as those 3 points that I suggested, as well as the 2 points that I suggested that they fix, I think this game is going to be fantastic. I think BioWare is doing something really, really cool, and I think they can make it work. If they change just some of the minute details, like the matchmaking problem that I touched on, having dedicated servers and having servers that can handle the traffic and the prediction of traffic that they're having on their servers, as well as sort of changing and improving on the chaotic nature of the battle sequences and the fights that you get into in the game. But all in all, the game and the demo look fantastic. If you haven't played the demo or you haven't watched the demo, make sure to go check out my channel and watch the Anthem demo. It's a great demo. I think they did a fantastic job with just putting the game out there and getting sort of a base reading on what their fans would like or didn't like. But without any further ado, thank you guys so much for listening to the review and watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys are brand new to the channel. That way you guys don't miss any reviews like this or any of the live streams or any other content that I put on the channel. This is your boy Phantom Stilts. I will see you guys on the next video. Take care, guys. I make it go.